Hello, cats and kittens. Hola, Jose Yoshko. I'm back in the Crisis Corner on Manga Monday. Yeah, not manga. Well, we're related, adjacent to Manga Monday. We're. I'm here with Dave. Say hey, Dave. Hey,
Hey,
and we're giving our impressions on One Piece, Netflix One Piece season two. I've finished watching it one and a half times, or almost one and a half times, and I just wanted to wash the taste of Star Trek Starfleet Academy out of my mouth by actually reviewing something that's good for a change. So we're gonna go in on One Piece season two. I have to say, off the break, I mean, I was impressed. I was impressed, but maybe some of that's because of just the trash that was Starfleet Academy, which I didn't have any hopes for in the first place. But this is what happens when a creator is given control of his IP. Maybe not absolute complete control, but as much control as possible of his IP and is the guiding force behind that IP. This is what you get. And
well,
we're going to
sure.
see.
Not to
Huh?
defend, not to defend Starfleet Academy because I haven't seen it, but I'm just going to say in regards to that creator, I don't think Gene can control that one.
No, 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 no. But
Just okay.
when he could, it was all right.
Hmm.
It was
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't. Well, I'm not gonna get into
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Let's not
Let's
that.
not get sidetracked. 'Cause I feel bad enough at
That's it.
today.
That's it.
Life is hard, you know. So I don't want.
Yeah.
Let's get to this. One Piece season two, and I got 5 questions and a bonus question,
Okay.
and in regard to our impressions of One Piece season two. First question is, what were your expectations given the arcs that were supposed to be covered? I got a follow up question to that too. Going in, what were your expectations?
Um. So I'm going to be quite honest, and I don't know all the questions, so I'm going to tell folks, so these are
That's
going to be
fair.
a surprise to me, guys. Um, so going into it, I can tell you, I was not very hopeful. So
Mm-hmm.
I watched the first season, and I felt like they did the very best they could. With it just seemed to me with not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jose and I don't know that I one, I can't remember if we cut a video on the first
We
season.
did. I
Oh,
believe
we
we
did.
did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I know that we talked
If
about it.
we did, I'll link it to this
Okay, okay, okay.
to this video.
We're better prepared than this, folks. Just so you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So my issues are general issues with the show. So as far as I know, even though I know Netflix is spending an awful lot of money
Mm-hmm.
on this show, it always felt um it didn't blow me away in the first season. So I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I felt like some of the casting choices are questionable. I know you and I went back and forth on Inyaki Godoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think oddly enough, I'm going to say a couple things. First and foremost, I'll say his acting is not my favorite. So I find
Mm-hmm.
him to be probably the weakest actor. Though I will say, if
Don't
you
go too
watch,
hard onto the characters yet, because that's
okay,
another
okay,
question.
okay, I won't go too hard. I will say
Expectations.
just as it is, for all intents and purposes, him like if you watch his interviews and so forth, him as a person, he seems more Luffy like to me than his ability
Act
to
like
act.
Luffy.
So if you give him some dialogue, you know, it's like whatever. You catch him live, like I whatever. But so I was not very hopeful,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the arcs. Because not to say because Drum Island hits hard. It's a real
Mm-hmm.
it's a hard hitting arc. So I was very reticent in terms of what we were going to get into. Whiskey Peak is if I'm being honest, I actually think I don't know if we talked about this. I think Whiskey Peak is actually what sold me on One Piece,
Mm-hmm.
and it caught me. And the things that catch you as a fan are just it's different. Because I can tell you, it was actually a comedy moment. Even you look at Whiskey Peak,
Mm-hmm.
Zoro gets off. He gets off.
He
It's the
does.
comedy. It's the comedy bit where when
You talking
Whiskey
about a
comes.
manga anime or live action?
The anime. The
Okay.
anime is what caught me. And it was that last bit where Luffy and Zoro get into it. He's
Oh
like, you
yes,
people
yes.
better. They whatever, I can't believe you did this. And that bit where not the fight itself, the bit where Nami comes in and she breaks it up. And she's
Mm,
holding them babbers and they're still
still
going at it.
fighting.
That right there made me think this was it for me. I can tell you, and that had me
Yeah,
check in. That one little bit where he's kicking Zoro in the face, and he's grabbing like
yeah,
they still going.
yeah.
I was like, yo, this is me. So I
I
was not very
wanted that.
hopeful.
I wanted that.
I
But I
wanted
can
that.
see
I wanted.
intellectually, I can
I
see
wanted that.
in my heart I wanted it, but in my mind I can see how they couldn't get
Yes.
all of that in. It
Yeah.
was
Exactly. Because you
yeah,
got 8 episodes.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say my expectations were lower due to what I knew they had to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much. I mean, look, Reverse Mountain, that was going to be problematic. We talking about Lil Boom, you talking about,
Yeah.
and they were smart the way they did it, and
I
they
thought so.
even,
And some of that
yeah,
I like better, if I'm being honest. But go ahead.
they even threw in a little jab of Usopp saying, "Hey, you should live inside that world. You should you should think about that." Because I don't want to spoil for anybody that's hadn't seen the actual show, but yeah. So so there was a lot that they had to do. A Drum Island Chopper alone. I
Mm,
didn't think they were going to pull that off. There was no way I figured they was going to make Chopper work. Um,
no.
even what's his name, Warple. I didn't think
Oh
they was going
yeah,
to make that work.
yeah.
So my expectations, based on what they had to do, what they had to pull off, what season one was simple compared to what they had to pull off now and going
Agreed.
forward. Going
Agreed.
forward, it's just going to get ridiculous. I
Mhm.
don't know what they're going to do, but so yeah, my expectations were low. The follow up question is: were those expectations met, not met, met or exceeded from your standpoint?
My expectations were exceeded greatly, so I'm going to be as upfront with. I was so my issues is still my issues. So my main issues is I still think like I said, Iñaki Godoy is not necessarily my favorite actor. He still isn't. I
Mm-hmm.
can live with him. I do think, it's a slight thing because I actually like the rest of the actors, but I do think they cast it too old, which is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just something that they do. But these actors, as far as I can tell, they're all competent. And they can rock these roles.
Mm-hmm.
So I those are my criticisms in terms of the show. But everything else, I was very pleasantly surprised by what they were able to accomplish. Like I said, they did make some changes. They were able to throw in some Easter eggs. They were able to hint some
Boy.
things. And some of the stuff that they did, I like. We talk about Reverse Mountain. Like, I mean, I liked. Um, I guess. And I know it's Jose and I have a little whatever talk no jutsu again, to take that. I like that. Like that works for me. Like that
Which
was.
one
I thought
was
that
taking
was
down
great.
Laboon?
Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah, oh
When he
yeah,
hit him with Wing
yeah,
Saga and he hit him with talk no jutsu. I was like, yo, that
yeah.
it
I
seemed appropriate.
like
I
that.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, and my expectations were exceeded in a lot of ways, but mainly because of the creativity that they had to employ to
Mm-hmm.
make this work. They had to alter the pace. They had to, I mean, if you were, I mean, a lot of people came in early. A lot of people are still hanging around that really shouldn't be. I mean, but it worked in the flow of the story. I don't think you should have seen, well, Nico Robin. It within the flow of the story, she came in early. And period. I think if you're just talking about the, she wasn't in Logtown. She wasn't in. She didn't show up until the end of what you call them, Little Garden, right? Story
I think
wise.
that's true.
So she wasn't in West, was she in Whiskey Peak?
I,
At the
I
end of
don't recall. I don't
I
remember her
don't think she
being
was.
there.
Yeah, I think she showed up at the because she definitely showed up when they were escaping. No, she showed up when they were escaping Whiskey Peak. That's the
Mm,
first time that you actually see her in the book slash manga.
okay.
Okay, but they first thing you see in the she was showed up in the beginning of the story. Then, like you said, it was dropping all kinds of little Easter eggs that were not in the context of the manga anime, but made sense to keep the story flowing. Stuff like the little red herring, basically, of Luffy's parentage or whatever. People,
Spoiler
people,
alert.
just people just watching this
Spoiler
is
alert.
are
Spoiler alert.
thrown completely off the scent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
they, they doing all kinds of, so they got a lot of misdirects going on. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They got people showing up like Bartolomeo. They got little cameos like Savo and people like that
I
running through
mean,
the story. And in the flow of the story, it makes sense. But it works for the uninitiated, and it works for those that are already into the series. You know what I'm saying? A
yeah.
lot of stuff that we would notice, nobody would think twice about, but it doesn't hurt either side, in terms of if you're familiar with the story and you're not.
No, because in some ways it's like I guess an odd literary reference is going to be Mark Twain's war prayer. Essentially, there's a second as an opposite side of every time you throw something down. So for all intents and purposes, we know that Bartolomeo, in his flashback, he's at Logtown, so we
Right,
know that he's
right,
there. So no, in the story when Logtown was live, we didn't know he was there, but
right.
we know in hindsight that he was there. So him being there in the story, that's great to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sabo had to be there, whatever, because we know who Sabo is and whatever. And then I really liked seeing the inner workings of Baroque works, which we didn't
Yeah,
get because we're following the Straw Hats, so we don't have to see
right,
how Baroque works, and
right.
I like that. So we see how who Robin was at this time of the story, what kind of character she is, how deeply rooted into the whole system that she. I really those kind of things I enjoy.
And speaking of Robin, one pet peeve that I had at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
that I had to turn around and think about, and it kind of makes sense. When her opening scene, when she's rolling through there and killing all the
Yeah,
Marines, right? And I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of hard for Robin. You know what I'm saying? Because we know her as Nico Robin, in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
story, and even within the story, she is initially stated to be an assassin,
Yes.
but we never actually saw her, I believe, assassinating anybody. I mean, like
That's no, we
to
don't.
the extent that she did in the
Oh
beginning of
yeah,
this.
oh
I mean,
yeah, oh
she
yeah,
offed a lot of Marines, right?
yeah,
And when I think about it, if you think about it, if anybody on that crew had a beef against the Marines, against the world government Marines, it would be Nico Robin. And if she
yeah,
did feel like taking them dudes out, it would kind of work. You know what I mean? They did her
yeah.
dirty. You know what I'm saying? She's been on the run for like 20 years behind these people. They did her dirty, and if she felt some kind of way about that and took it out on their Marines, it kind of made sense.
So initially, you felt like they were pushing her too hard, or
Because I mean, look, some of those guys got she off them dudes hard, man. She
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, because and you know, all I'm thinking of is Robin post in this lobby in the crew, blah
mm,
blah blah, whatever.
yeah.
That might be a spoiler, but whatever. So I'm thinking,
Spoiler alert for the video, y'all.
right, right. She joins
We
the
were
whatever.
reviewing it. We were reviewing
Yeah,
it as
sorry about
One
that,
Piece
my bad.
Hands. All right, I
Yeah.
got you.
But the Robin that we know, whatever, is
Yeah,
not a straight up killer. You know what I'm saying? But she was putting them dudes down. You know, but it makes sense because she been undercover all these years doing what she had to do to get by, and she got beef with the Marine slash.
yeah.
So if she did go hard on them, it kind of makes sense. She would
No,
have to be kind of ruthless. You know.
I agree with you because when you see it, I'm always torn in these kind of situations. Not because she at the end of the day, Luffy and his crew, they're quote unquote pirates,
Right.
and I mean, I use this term loosely because for all intents and purposes, they're the worst kind of pirates. Just whatever, they don't believe in pirating in
Right.
any way, shape, or form. So when you have someone who engages in villainous behavior, in some ways there has to be consequences. Like quite frankly, you want to catch Straw Hat Luffy because he's a quote unquote pirate, not because he's a terrible person, not because he's out there pillaging or he's killing Marines or anything like that. So there isn't, outside of him being a quote unquote pirate, a reason for the Marines to have a hate for him.
Right.
If you're running around killing Marines, then the idea is there's going to be antipathy on both sides. There should be some kind of, there's an antagonistic relationship between these two parties. Like, there's no way you killed my brother Marine, I'll ever forgive Nico Robin. I got to take, so you you put her in that position. So in that regard, I'm like, well, whatever. But the fact is, it seems to me it's true to her character
It
in
is.
so much that she's been on the run for as long as she's been on the run. And she to find safety, she has to enmesh herself into this world. She has to wrap her in this. This is the armor that she has to put on herself. So she has to do these things for safety reasons. So in that regard, I was able to get over, because I think I had to get my mind right and wrap it around who she was as a character to be like, okay, this makes sense to me.
She went hard, man. She went hard.
Real hard. real hard. She went real hard.
Yeah.